Welcome to TeleStory. To read Thomas Visits the Toy Shop, press the blue square. To read Thomas's Milkshake Mix, press the yellow star. To have the story read to you, press the blue square. To read the words yourself, press the yellow star. Press the colored buttons anytime during the story to see animations play. To turn the page, press the green arrow buttons. Winter had come to the island of Sodor. The ground was covered in white frost as Thomas the Tank Engine and his friends delivered passengers and freight around the island. Thomas was very excited because this was the day he was going to visit the toy factory. The toy makers were all busy working as Thomas arrived at the factory. Thomas had never seen so many toys before. Thomas got to deliver all the playthings from the factory to the toy shop for their winter holiday celebration. Thomas pulled away from the factory, hauling a long line of freight cars full of bikes, balls, and other fun things. "Those toys are heavier than they look," Thomas thought. He puffed as hard as he could down the tracks. Thomas arrived at the toy shop station. It was hard work pulling the heavy freight cars, but Thomas didn't mind. "It will be worth it to see all the happy children at the celebration," Thomas puffed. Sir Topham Hatt came by the shed to give the trains their assignments for the day. He told Henry that he would be making the toy deliveries. This disappointed Thomas at first, until he heard what his assignment was, delivering the children to the party. With his trusty passenger cars Annie and Clarabelle attached, Thomas chugged off to pick up the children. "How exciting!" thought Thomas. "The children will be so happy to see all those toys." Thomas and his cars happily sped along the tracks. On his way to town, Thomas passed the toy factory. "Hello!" one of the workers shouted. "Have you seen Henry? He's late." That's strange, Thomas thought. He was supposed to pick up the toys an hour ago. When Thomas arrived at the next stop, the station master approached him. "Have you seen Henry?" he asked Thomas's driver. "He hasn't been by here today." That's not like Henry, Thomas thought as his passengers climbed on board. He's always on time. Thomas continued picking up children from all over the island to bring to the party. The children were having a great time riding with Thomas, but Thomas was worried about Henry. I hope Henry's not in trouble, Thomas thought as he chugged along. As Thomas neared the harbor, he finally spotted Henry. Cranky the crane had accidentally dropped a crate onto the tracks, blocking Henry's path. Thank goodness you're here, Thomas, Henry's driver shouted in relief. We've been stuck here for hours, and our radio isn't working. Please call for help. Thomas's driver called the station, who quickly sent their workmen to clean up the mess. Soon, the tracks were clear and Henry was ready to finish his job. Henry was pleased to be back on track. Thanks so much for your help, Thomas, Henry told Thomas as they sped along the tracks. You really saved the day. Well, Thomas replied, the day's not over yet. You still have to deliver the toys, and I have to pick up the rest of the children for the party. We'd better hurry. Henry finally arrived at the toy factory. Henry's here! Load up the toys! The workers shouted. Henry's freight cars were soon filled to the brim with every toy imaginable. After his freight cars were secured, Henry puffed off to deliver the toys. I hope I make it to the celebration in time, Henry worried. Henry hurried along the tracks as quickly as he could. While Henry was busy delivering the toys, Thomas was hard at work, too. He picked up the last of the children and set off toward the party. Come on, Thomas said to Annie and Clarabelle. We've got to hurry. Thomas and Henry both made it back to the station just in the nick of time. We did it, Henry, Thomas puffed. We delivered the children and the toys in time for the celebration. Hooray for Thomas and Henry! The children shouted. The two greatest trains in Sodor! The end. To read Thomas Visits the Toy Shop, press the blue square. To read Thomas's Milkshake Mix, press the yellow star. To have the story read to you, press the blue square. To read the words yourself, press the yellow star. To have the story read to you, press the colored buttons anytime during the story to see animations play. To turn the page, press the green arrow buttons. Thomas the Tank Engine and all his engine friends lived on the island of Sodor. Every summer, there was a great party where all the children got to eat cake and ice cream and ride on one of the trains. Thomas hoped he would get to bring the children to the party this year. On the morning of the party, Sir Topham Hatt came by the shed to talk to the trains.
Thomas, I need you to pick up milk from the dairy and bring it to the ice cream factory. Emily, I would like you to bring the children to the party today.
Thomas was very disappointed to hear this. Thomas wished he could go to the party, but he knew delivering the milk was an important job. The milk was secured and ready to go.
Remember, Thomas,
The dairy manager warned.
you must go very slowly with this milk, or you'll churn it into butter.
As he crept carefully toward the ice cream factory, Thomas passed Emily. "Hey, you old slow coach," Emily teased. "I'm not slow. I'm just being careful," Thomas called back. Thomas continued at his slow and steady pace along the tracks. Driving slow is harder than it looks, Thomas thought. Thomas finally arrived at the ice cream factory.
Well done,
The ice cream manager told Thomas.
you'd better hurry back to the dairy. Sir Topham Hatt has more work for you.
Thomas rushed back along the tracks. They sure are busy at the dairy today, Thomas thought. When Thomas arrived at the dairy, Sir Topham Hatt was waiting for him.
I've got two more important jobs for you, Thomas.
Sir Topham Hatt told him.
First, bring these milk churns to the farm. They will use it to make butter, which you will then deliver to the baker to make cakes for the party.
Thomas slowly drove away to make another milk delivery. I wish I could drive faster, thought Thomas, but if I bump the churns, it will ruin the milk. As Thomas neared the signal, he spotted Emily again. "Running on time?" Emily teased. "I'm actually running behind schedule," admitted Thomas sheepishly. "I have to get this milk to the farmer to make butter, then deliver the butter to the baker in time for the party. Otherwise, the children won't have their cakes." "It's too bad you can't make the butter yourself," Emily told Thomas. "Then you'd only have to make one trip." "Make it myself," Thomas beamed. "Brilliant! That's just what I'll do." Thomas sped off quickly down the tracks. "The man at the dairy told me if I drove too quickly, I'd churn the milk into butter," Thomas thought as he cruised along the tracks. Let's hope he was telling the truth. As he passed through the countryside, the cows in the fields all looked up to see Thomas flying down the railroad tracks at full speed. The barrels of milk were bouncing like jumping beans in Thomas's freight cars as he neared the village station. The baker was surprised to see Thomas pulling into the station so soon.
"Thomas, did you forget to stop by the farm?"
the baker asked. "Look inside," said Thomas's driver. Sure enough, the bumpy ride had churned the milk into rich butter. Just then, Sir Topham had arrived.
"I heard what you did, Thomas,"
he told him.
"That was a clever trick you pulled. Now, all the children will get their cakes for the party. Well done. I think this calls for a celebration."
As a reward for his quick thinking and quick driving, Thomas was given one last job: to attend the children's party as guest of honor. The end. To read Thomas visits the toy shop, press the blue square. To read Thomas's milkshake mix, press the yellow star.